This is a behind enemy lines I have looked forward to all season long. Although the circumstances have changed quite a bit for both of these teams, I don't believe that Dolphins fans or 49er fans thought that this is where we would be at this point in the season. But here we are. We still got to talk a little bit of trash. We'll do it all. Back to Last Second Sports, where we are giving you our take down to the last second. And I've got my guy tdphinstalk in the building. TD, my man, how you doing?
I'm doing great, man. My team's been having a rough go at it, but there's nothing like playing the 49ers to get you back on track.
Yeah, well, listen, we've been talking a lot of trash in the build-up of this. It's lost a little bit of luster. I'm not going to lie, TD. It's lost a little luster.
Oh, man. We're still in it. We still got a chance. I know it's slim enough.
What are you at, 6%?
Hey, that's better than zero. That's better than zero.
No, we're at 0.1. We got a chance too. We're at 0.1%.
Listen, we just down bad. That's just the reality. We down bad, brother.
Yeah, it is. But one of us is going to have bragging rights after this game. We talked a lot of trash leading into it. But yeah, what's happened, man? Talk to me about the Dolphins side. What has happened this season? Why has it been so disappointing?
You can't ignore that we do have a lot of injuries that we dealt with all over the team. But that's not really the big excuse, to be quite honest with you. Every team deals with injuries. I feel like great coaching is how you survive despite the injuries, how you're able to, overcome them. Sometimes you can have injuries to where, hey, you're not overcoming this no matter what, but I don't believe that's the case for the Dolphins. I believe with the Miami Dolphins, we have worn our welcome in the NFL with this current Mike McDaniel scheme and what we try to do. I think teams have figured it out, at least the good teams. The bad teams usually don't have the personnel to match up, so they play a base defense. But the good teams typically, they actually scheme against what we do well. And, when they take that away, this team looks like it doesn't even belong in the NFL. It's almost borderline embarrassing when you really look at it least from the offensive side of the football. Defense, on the other hand, has had its ups and downs, but for the most part have done enough, I think, to keep us in games and try to fight. But if you can't put up, you got to score points in this league. You got to score points in this league, and if you can't do that at a high level on a consistent basis, then it doesn't matter. We are known and verified now to beat up on the bad teams below 500, and when you play an actual comparable team, 500 or above, and or in cold weather or something like that, or late in the season, we just fold. So that's why this game is actually going to be interesting to see what we do against another team that's below 500, but this is a different below 500 team, in my opinion, in the San Francisco 49ers.
Yeah, they are. But, the 49ers problem this year has really been, in my opinion, they hung on a year too long. There is a point where you team build, and you get so close. You reach the peak of the mountain and you fall just short, and you have a decision to make. Do we move on from some of these higher paid players that are aging a bit and turn the page and try to retool on the fly, or do we try to hang on for one last run? And that's what the 49ers decided to do. And unfortunately for them, those are the same guys that have missed a lot of time, and it's really put them behind the 8 ball as far as retooling and rebuilding in the future. I've been trying to tell 49er fans, I don't believe this is a one-season disappointment. I think that we're on to possibly a couple seasons like this. And I know it's so funny to me because the 49ers and Dolphins are very similar. Now, the 49ers have actually broke through in the playoffs. The Dolphins have not. Yeah. But as far as a philosophy, you've got similar head coaches. You've got similar quarterbacks. You've got similar weaponry. And ultimately, it's like this team building process for both of them in different ways has proven not to be the winning formula to actually win a Super Bowl. Do you see the parallels between Miami and San Francisco in that way?
I see the parallels a little bit different, but I want to start by saying that I believe, based off of what you just said, me and you must share a lot of the same sentiment in how we look at the game of football, how we look at team building, and what's best for the overall success of the team. And I want to go back to what you were saying just now at first when you said 1 year too many. Yeah, because you paid everybody. You paid everybody on a decision year, which means it's no longer a decision year. You've just locked yourself in longer than you need to, and you're banking on it working, guessing, gambling. And if it doesn't, you're screwed. If it does, good job. But just like Miami, we're being exposed because it's not working. We paid everybody as well. And when you think about all the players you paid, looking at where you are now, if you wouldn't have paid them, your future would have been so bright. Because look at all that money you could have went into free agency with and picked up a whole bunch of 7 and 8s out of 10 guys and retooled the roster for the future. Now you have to keep some of these guys around, wait until you get better cap relief. You got another major decision in Purdy. This is the same thing the Miami Dolphins are dealing with, but we actually went even further than you all. We are paid the quarterback.
We're about to as well.
And this is what I don't understand about the NFL. Coaches and general managers, for some strange reason in the NFL, at least for the most part, they never just stop, pause, and look around at everybody else that's in your situation that's already a year or two removed from your exact situation, and you might find the high level of non-success. And you still go ahead and do it anyway. Why, though? That's the real question, Jesse, is why? Because if they don't do it, it might be an admission that they failed on the initial rebuild to begin with. So these general managers are forced to go all in regardless, because not going all in could be a fireable offense, because that means what you were trying to do failed. So what you do is try to buy time and dig the hole deeper. That way the owner may say, man, the hole is so deep. If it wasn't so deep, I might fire you. Ain't that crazy? You know what, man? You got one more chance. Like, we don't went so deep. We got to see it out now. That's what these general managers do. And you want to know the last general manager I remember that kind of did it this way was in Houston, when they traded Laramie Tunsil and got rid of all those first round picks to Miami to go for broke. And it failed. But at least them doing it sooner rather than later started their rebuild, and now they're in a better position.
Well, they also got to trade Deshaun Watson like the perfect time, man. That worked out really well.
Yeah, I didn't think about that. That was a big savior, but that's why you need to save yourself on these quarterbacks.
Yeah, well, we're going to talk about this because this is it's interesting, because when this season started, you and I have been going back and forth all season. And it was like, oh, I can't wait for this game. Like, this is going to be major implications. And now we're here, and I'm excited to have you on, not because of talking about this game, which we'll give a score prediction, but ultimately we know this game doesn't mean much. That being said, I think you're the perfect person to talk to my fan base, my 49ers faithful, and tell them why we shouldn't pay Brock Purdy. Because I feel like you have been through it in the same exact way, just a different player, but they have a lot of similarities, and I'll go over those in a minute. But before we get there, I do want to say there is a future for both of these teams. Now, how bright that future is, not quite sure of that. It depends on what these teams choose to do. Where do the Dolphins go from here? Like, where should they make changes this offseason? Like, what is the perfect offseason look like to you, knowing that things haven't gone the way that you would have decided if it were you? You wouldn't have paid Tua. You wouldn't have paid a lot of these guys. You wouldn't have extended Tyreek Hill.
Well, we have.
I know all of that, but you have. So now what would you do going forward?
Wait it out. It's all you can do. We're in a peculiar situation, and here's why. It's not just that we paid these guys, right? It's the fact that you sign them on multi-year deals and like extended years, right? You like guaranteed a lot more money, right? So say you realize as a general manager right now, this is a failure. What can you do? There's nothing you can do. At this point, you actually have to, at least at a minimum, wait it out one more year of mediocrity. Maybe you still win 10, 11 games and get lucky and make the playoffs. But this team ain't gonna win the playoff game. You're gonna get bounced in the first round, and say just miraculously you do win one. It's not the ultimate goal is the Super Bowl. That's first and foremost what all fan bases need to keep in mind. It's not, well, I'd rather be competitive every year and lose in the playoffs. Man, the Super Bowl is the goal. Point, period, blank. Okay. So if you're not trying to build for that, then you're already failing. Don't tell me you're trying to build just to make the playoffs and compete. If you don't feel like you got a chance to win a Super Bowl, then you're already failing, okay? So Miami is in that boat. I'm not going to say the same for San Francisco, but Miami is in that boat, Jesse. So what would I do? The only thing you can do at this point, run it back next year. But what I would do is invest at the quarterback position in the first round. Yeah, that pick might be in the teens, but even if this guy isn't the guy of the future, he may be a bust. He when I say this name, people may be like, oh, no, not at all. Hey, maybe. But you got to invest and see what you can turn somebody into, because nobody thought Purdy was going to be what he was. Nobody thought, you see what I'm saying? So you go find a guy like Jalen Milroe and see if he can be more impactful than Tua. And what I mean by that, he brings another element to his game that can unlock something on his team with his mobility. Because in Jalen Milroe, I don't like him as a passer per se, but I see the crossover between Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen. A fast Lamar Jackson, but bigger body like Josh Allen. And if we have the quarterback guru like McDaniel's supposed to be, or McDermott in your case, right? If they're the quarterback gurus, I'm saying McDermott. I don't even know why I said that.
Yeah. You got Buffalo Bills on the mind.
Yeah. But if you have the quarterback guru, then let him work his magic on making him a better passer. Because the upside of that with the mobility can be better. And then we can have a different outlook. And you keep Tua. Tua is the starter, but you bring in, just like they brought in Penix in Atlanta, even though they signed Kirk Cousins, you bring in a guy that you feel like you might be able to replace him with and do better. That's a project. We don't know, but you sit him there, you watch him, and you say, you know what, we have something. Next year, the year after, we'll move on from Tua. We don't have something, it's still Tua. But that's the best case scenario for the Dolphins. You got to have your future plan that you start to bring in now. And maybe it's not Milroe, maybe it's another guy, but I'm just throwing that out there. Something that you can see that you might be able to, as a quarterback guru, develop and get a Purdy out of nowhere. Get a Brady out. We don't know. You know what I mean? So that's what I would do if I'm the Dolphins. Run it back, prepare for the future at the same time, because it is a throwaway year. But if you just bring everybody back, maybe they can prove that wrong, but start preparing for the future. Don't invest anything else in this current team to do anything. You start investing in the future, building blocks for the roster. So that's what I would do if I was Miami moving forward.
Here's the problem, TD. And you know it as well as I do. We are coming at this from a team building, Super Bowl winning perspective. That's what our channels are built on, is how can our team win a Super Bowl? Mm-hmm. But the team and the owners are about, how can I make the most money possible?
Yeah.
And so they look at this and they say, all right, if I keep these players around, I know that we'll be good enough to give the fans hope, which means I can hike up these ticket prices and sell this stadium out.
Yeah.
That's what they care about. And so I look at it like from a 49ers perspective. And I said all the way back in February when they lost the Super Bowl, I said, time to move on from CMC, time to move on from Debo, time to move on from Trent Williams. Now, is that the best football decision for a one-year play? No, but long-term, it absolutely would have been. And then I echoed that at the trade deadline. I said, we are a 4-4 team. We're about to go on a bye week. It is clear this team is not winning anything this year. They have to be sellers if they are smart, because you want to get this money off the books immediately, have your down year, and then move forward. I knew they wouldn't do that. And truth be told, they have another chance this offseason to do all those same things. They're not going to do any of it.
Do they, Jesse?
They do to a certain extent.
Some contracts, bro.
They do. Listen, you're going to take a big hit if you get rid of Debo. But you can choose, and this is what teams always do, and it frustrates me to no end. They cut guys, or like in your case, if they cut them, they always do post June 1st designation.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, okay, well, cool. That's great for this year. But if you're trying to build a future, you can't then have $17 or $20 million on the cap next year for a guy that's not going to be here when you're trying to rebuild this team. You've got to decide this team's not competitive enough to win a Super Bowl. Let's take our lumps now, get out from under these contracts. And then next year we have all this free money and we can hit the ground running, but they never do it that way.
Mm-mm. Well, few things. I'm going to push back a little. Y'all got one more year like us. Them contracts are fresh, bro. Now I understand Debo, you can take a little lump and then you'll be all right after a year. But T. Higgins? I mean, not T. Higgins, but Ayuk?
No, Ayuk, we're stuck with Ayuk.
I mean,
that's we're stuck with Ayuk.
CMC? How that contract
stuck with
up?
CMC.
I mean, it is what it is. So I do understand the Debo move, though. And what I would do in the Debo move, I would trade Debo. I wouldn't cut Debo. I would trade.
But do you think anybody actually wants Debo coming off this season with that kind of money?
Yeah, because again, the receiving team is not going to eat it all. Y'all still got your portion you got to eat. So the receiving team still sees a weapon and at a discounted price because y'all got to eat the guaranteed money. That's y'all bad decision, right? His contract, when I'm looking at it, it's a benefit for the receiving team. And you can get a solid pick. I think you can make it lucrative for a team with the fifth. He could be worth more than that, but to make it lucrative to make it happen, I think you can get a fifth. And I would trade Debo, start that process of recovering the cap, right? But Jesse, let's just be honest here. The impact players aren't the issue right now. As far as the money, it's Purdy's impending contract. Like, don't run away from the elephant in the room. We want to talk about all the other little guys. It's Purdy's impending contract. Talk about a guy that ain't got no fifth-year option. We're talking about a guy that if you're going to extend, you got to do it now just to spread out the fourth year. You know, it's going to be bigger cap hits than the normal quarterbacks because you're not spreading out between year 4, fifth-year option, and the term. Like, people don't understand that about contracts. If you're a first-round pick, and I extend you right after year 3, whatever your deal is, divide it by 7. If I give you a 5-year deal, you can divide it by 7. You can manage that. But when you got a guy that ain't a fifth-year option, then now you're dividing by 6, and that's if you do a 5-year deal. You might even do a 4-year deal. Now you're dividing it by 5, and it hurts more. And don't make him play on his 4th year and then try to sign him, just like the Tua situation somewhat, right? Because you look at some of these guys' cap hits, they're totally different. Tua is a massive cap hit moving forward compared to Jordan Love, who got an almost identical contract. Massive. Like Tua's annual cap hit is going to be like on average 15 more than Jordan Love, and their contracts are almost identical. Why? Because the way that they did his, they gave him that extension, then they gave him the bigger extension and spread it out more years. And they haven't restructured that first year, which they did with Tua right away. If y'all extend Purdy next offseason, y'all are going to restructure him right away just to afford it on the immediate contract. But that's going to make 2026, 2027, 2028 tough for you guys. So what is the best move for the 49ers, Jesse? You got to move on, man. You gotta
listen. You're preaching to the choir. I'm going to give some stats real quick, and this is why you're the perfect person to talk about this, in my opinion. You've got Tua, who in 2022 led the NFL in touchdown percentage, yards per attempt, passer rating, and was in the MVP conversation. Brock Purdy did the exact same thing a year later. Touchdown percentage, yards per attempt, passer rating, in the MVP conversation. The difference is that Tua at least followed it up in 2023 by leading the NFL in yards, and then this year is leading the NFL in completion percentage. Purdy went from that season and just has been mediocre all the way across the board statistically.
Still ain't no justification. I still don't see him any different in this scenario. This doesn't justify Tua.
Yeah.
It doesn't justify either of them because guess what? Tannehill did all these things 6 years ago when he first got to
For
Tennessee.
sure.
And when
Listen,
now
I
we're
agree with you. I agree with you. My
when you
point is
put
that these two are similar.
yeah, when you put everything around the guy and stuff, like you can't tell me what Purdy has done that Jimmy G hasn't. What has he really? I mean, maybe a few more stats, but what really has he done that Jimmy G hasn't?
As far as team accomplishments, nothing. Is that if that's
Nothing.
where you're going?
Yeah, he's had a little bit more success, but he had more weapons than Jimmy G too, overall. So my thing is Shanahan a QB guru?
I don't know that he is.
They give him, but do they give him that tag?
Yeah, they do. Yes.
Then hold him to the fire. Who's next? Because the only reason you've been able to survive the way that you have doing what you've been doing is because you've been paying peanuts at the position. You've been paying peanuts at the position. Now, work your magic again. Go find us the next one. But listen, I don't want to upset your fan base, Jesse, to give you my
listen, I already do that. I do. Give me the real thought. Give me the true thought. Please.
I might even upset you with this one.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not even sold on Shanahan.
I'm not either. No, I don't.
Really?
A lot of people aren't in the fan base.
I'm not saying he's not a great coach, but it's something about these great coaches that have immense talent. Show me when you don't have immense talent what you do. Because last year, when those starters went out, y'all went 0-3 and Purdy looked terrible. This year, starters in and out of the lineup, I see more of the same. Show me who you are as a coach when you ain't buying the talent. And I'm not trying to discount his coaching ability because you still got to put it together, which he does well. But I'm more high on coaches that have less and put it together. Now, you've been to Super Bowls and you've done the do, so you don't want to really I don't want to overstep my bounds and knock him off. But I'm skeptical of Shanahan and how great he truly is. So I would test him and say, go find me the next quarterback and keep the weapons that you advocated for, by the way. So let's keep these weapons. Let's keep this team that you built. And show me that you can at least stay in that contention. Go find me the next quarterback right away. And that's the route, because guess what? You can actually still have success if you can find another comparable quarterback. Because you got the weapons still. They're still all there, right? And you would be able to actually afford a few more pieces. Maybe Trent Williams' succession plan starts, or some of the guys on the linebacking core. In the defense, you can keep, or start developing or bringing in more talent. You could still be a competitive team going for a Super Bowl. But I am telling you now, in all 49ers Nation, the moment you pay Purdy, that's the last year you got an opportunity, and that's still a slim opportunity. That is it. You will be stuck for the next 2 to 3 years before you come to the revelation.
Yeah, this is the issue I have is there's two things that have proven to win the salary cap era year after year, and that's either a very inexpensive quarterback with an elite team around him or an elite quarterback who's paid like an elite quarterback, but he's actually elite. What doesn't win and nobody here is saying that Tua or Purdy aren't good quarterbacks. I'll piss your fan base off a little bit. And listen, I've already said I would take Purdy over Tua for the fact that I think he has a little bit more gumption. Like, he's not going to fold at the very least. I know that he's not going to wilt under pressure. He will at least play his heart out. Yeah. I don't know that Tua necessarily does that.
No, I agree with you. I would take Purdy over Tua as well.
But it's not astronomical. I mean, we're splitting hairs here. In my opinion, we're splitting hairs. So for me, when you pay non-elite quarterbacks elite money, you're in purgatory. Like, just because the Jacksonville Jaguars, the Dallas Cowboys, the Dolphins have done it doesn't mean that the 49ers should. Because look, where are those teams at right now? They're with you, not in the playoffs. All three of them.
Let me tell you what I've learned, Jesse. Going forward in the NFL and test this every year, okay? 14 quarterbacks make the playoffs, right?
Okay.
7 will be making less than market average.
Okay.
So take your like, let's just take Daniel Jones, like market, average, that 40 million, even though it's really 35, right? seven teams that make the playoffs, their quarterback is making peanuts compared to the $50 million guys, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Half of the league is going to be on a rookie contract. Half of the quarterbacks in the playoffs going to be on a rookie contract or a Sam Darnold contract or a Russell Wilson current contract.
Baker Mayfield.
You see what I mean? Half of them that are going to make it. Why? Because they loaded. They got more talent around them because of the quarterback not making all that money. The other 7, 5 of them are the top of the top quarterbacks. Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Jared Goff right now. You see what I mean? You can argue some others, right? The only 2 left are guys like right there in the middle, Jordan Love, those kind of guys.
Yep.
So I feel like every year, if you pay a quarterback, you got 2 slots to get in the playoffs out of 15 of y'all getting paid. You're at a disadvantage. Why do you think Washington just taking off? Look at how much money they're paying him. If they were paying Jaden Daniels $55 million, you think that roster would be the same?
No, hell no.
You see, if Russell Wilson was making his Denver salary in Pittsburgh, would that roster be the same? If Sam Darnold was making the old Kirk Cousins money, would that roster be the same?
No.
People don't get this. So you literally have to have the elite of elite guys if you're going to pay them that can have carry ability. And Purdy nor Tua has carry ability. And what is carry ability? Putting the team on your back even when the stars get hurt. Even when the big time players go down. You see what Josh Allen been doing all year. That is carry ability, ladies and gentlemen. This is what Lamar has done in his whole career. Didn't have immense weapons and stuff. Carry ability. Now, it can only take you so far, but that's why the elites battle it out at the end of the day. Now, the San Francisco 49ers have done it for the most part because these guys haven't been making the big bucks. Jimmy G wasn't even making crazy money like that. From a cap standpoint, when you look at how much the cap hits were, they pushed a lot of that to the back end. So that's what you're contending with. It is a losing strategy. You're giving yourself a minimal chance to win it all when you pay your guy.
Yeah, I mean, that's the reality. But, then you've got a big chunk of the fan base, and I know you deal with it still to this day. And I believe that we're going to deal with it forever as long as Purdy's here, where they are like, yeah, but TD, the stats. I mean, look at him. The completion percentage. How can you say he's not elite?
Response. Easy response. Do you care about the team more than Purdy? Which one? Or do you care about Purdy more than the team? You want to talk about those stats? How many Super Bowls? Come on. When you need to win the most, is he elevating the team? I'm not sure about that.
He's not. He ranks 144th out of 160 quarterbacks when it comes to fourth quarter statistics in one-score games. So he's not.
That's terrible. You got to stop caring about these players more than the overall team success. Why do you think the Flaccos and the Nick Foles won a Super Bowl? Because they got loaded rosters. I remember that Eagles roster. Their backups were starters. They traded for Jay Ajayi out of Miami, and he was the backup. And he was leading the league in rushing. You got to think about the overall team success. So if you want to grab yourself a Super Bowl, that's how you have to think. I mean, not too long ago, didn't y'all have a young quarterback that took y'all all the way to the championship round? Was it Kaepernick here doing that?
Kaepernick, we went to a Super Bowl with Kaepernick.
Yeah, Super Bowl, rookie contract. I'm going to be honest with you. I think that's the new formula in the NFL. Start recycling quarterbacks. Load the roster instead of paying the quarterback, because you can have a loaded roster because the salary's getting crazy. You can literally have 4 Pro Bowl players for the price of 1 quarterback. You can have 2 all-pro guards out here and a Pro Bowl corner. I mean, you can have 4 Pro Bowlers for the price of 1 quarterback. So I think the teams need to get on this new wave. It's recycling the quarterbacks at a faster rate. and letting the bum teams that never had one, because we talk about, yeah, but if you ain't got one, you need one. If you ain't elite and you're just good, you're still wasting your time. It's the worst. I say it all the time, Jesse. The worst quarterback you can have is the one that's good enough not to be good enough. He's not bad enough to move on from because he wins games and he can do something. Those are the worst quarterbacks you can have, but they're just not good enough to ever get over the hump. The worst, man. And that's what Miami has down in South Beach. We got that in Tua Tagovailoa. And y'all might have that in Purdy. You had it in Jimmy G.
Yeah, Jeb, I've answered this question a million times. Everybody's, and this is the same thing. What do you do? How do you replace them? The point is that you don't have to find somebody. You don't even have to find somebody better to be more competitive. If you're paying somebody who's 85% as good as Brock, which is a lot easier to find than you think in this league, and they're making peanuts, and you can build an all-star team around them. See Jimmy G, you can go to a Super Bowl.
Manage the game and don't turn it over.
85% of Brock. So those guys exist. They do.
Yeah. I mean, look at these teams that's loading up. Why they all failing? Cowboys. That talent on that roster, failing. Look at the Dolphins, of course. 49ers got talent, failing. The Jets loaded up, failing. Mm-hmm. Look at the loading up teams, the ones that's trying to buy it, failing miserably. And all of them got quarterbacks that's getting paid, man. We're not going to learn.
No, we're not. Jetted Out says nothing to explain. Dolphin fronts have been exposed. He's a Jets guy.
Yeah.
He says running back sweeps and screens, check down bums. Dolphins.
I ain't mad. I mean, our reality, it's hit me already. I'm coming to peace with it.
Yeah, for sure. And this gentleman brings up your conversation from earlier. They were arguing two different points. Josh Allen is more talented than Patrick. Just like Aaron Rodgers was more talented than Tom Brady, but that doesn't make him the better quarterback. That's
exactly
where the whole thing came from. Listen, I know that you have a hard stop, and so I want to get you out of here and be respectful. But before you do,
we good.
We got to have a score prediction. Prediction.
Honestly,
who's going to win this game, and why is it the 49ers?
Well, I mean, I'm not mad at that, and here's why, Jesse. We all know you're dyslexic, so backwards thinking is in you. So listen, the Dolphins are probably going to win about 42-10 this week.
Oh God.
You know what, Jesse? I'm not even gonna lie. I'm not even gonna ride for my own team, man. We can win. I have zero belief that we will. We can, though. We can win. Y'all are banged up. Y'all are beat up. And I think our defense can do enough against your offense based off of what I've been seeing. But what I saw from y'all defense last week, even though y'all lost, they came to play.
They did.
And they hit hard. And then y'all got some help back, some health. What's his name just came back?
Greenlaw.
Yeah, Greenlaw. I mean, and Wagner, those guys was flying around this weekend. And when I watched that game, I said they can make it tough for Miami. But let me say this. This is what the game's going to come down to. Do you scheme for Tua or do you go in a base? Do you play base defense or do you scheme like y'all usually do with that middle third? That guy that's roaming in the middle of the field. Either laying the hat or scheming. Because let me tell you, every time we play the 49ers, y'all get them, but it'd be so many passes just missing your arm's reach. And as the game goes on, it gets closer and closer, then y'all get them. You'll start getting them. But if you don't get them early in this one, you're in trouble. So it's just y'all defense are going to win or lose this game. I have no confidence in our offense. I'm going to say that the 49ers will win this game 24-13. In Miami. Okay. I just our offense, and I'm gonna be honest, the players, they can't fool me. They're probably deflated. They don't want to, like, a lot of these guys don't want to risk injury. I think that we're gonna start having drama in the locker room in Miami that won't get out, but I already feel like it's happening. For what happened last week, McDaniel after halftime saying the receivers need to be in the right spot. Like it is crazy. You need to go look at it, Jesse. It was an interception by Tua where Tyreek was like running that crosser, and the guy just came underneath. They were game planning for it all game. To just
I was watching the game. Yeah, it was on my quad box. I saw it.
Mike McDaniel had the nerve, and people are out here still running with it that Tyreek got to run a better route. There ain't no cutting in front of a safety. You're getting bumped by the outside linebacker, and the safety's already driving. Like, what do you want the man to do? Because here's the funny thing. The ball was perfectly thrown to Tyreek if the defender wasn't there. This is routine. Like, the gig is up, man. Everybody knows what you're doing. But when you play the bum teams, they still lose because they don't have they're scared of Tyreek and Waddle, so they play their base cover 2 split. Man, the good teams scheme against us, and we can't do nothing offensively. So, 49ers, we know your record isn't good, but I look at the 49ers as a good team. So, I'm going to be honest with you. A game like this will tell you if you still are fundamentally sound. If y'all lose this game and Tua do his thing on y'all got to blow this mess up. Y'all not even fundamentally sound anymore. No, because y'all are capable. I know y'all type of defense. Y'all are the epitome of Tua. He don't want those problems, the 49ers type defense, the way y'all run it. But if y'all ain't cracking down this weekend and y'all need to blow it up, y'all ain't it anymore. Y'all losing a lot of what you are. And your coach is second guessing themselves. So I think it'll be a good answer for you guys as well. If y'all do your usual then it's important for you to remember you are better than the lower tier teams. You are better than the average teams. You just got to fix up a few things.
Yeah, I'm with you. I've got the 49ers winning 30-20. I think that they win this one. Tua doesn't scare me at all, and I think it's a bad matchup for him. FBI is speaking like a true Fed. He says, pay the man Brock $70 million. Appreciate that. All right, listen, we are out of here. We weren't here for a long time, but it was a good time. We got to run. Appreciate everybody in both chats. Much love. Talk to you soon. Peace.
Peace.